دارية 5/2/2013. اقتحام المدينة بدبابات الأسد.
بشر ومالك منا خود ناهر وارحل عنا وشرعيتك سقطت عنا ويلا ارحل يا بشار. يلا ارحل يا بشار ويلا ارحل يا بشار. يلا ارحل يا بشار ويا بشار ويا كذاب وتقرب انت وهالخطاب الحرية صارت
For us at the UN and even for the ICC, when YouTube becomes viral, it is almost instantly seen all over the world, and therefore the atrocities come to the public mind very quickly. We need to break the cycle of impunity, but we need to break it in real time. The rapporteurship on torture has been around for more than 20-some years. It's one of the longest standing special procedures. And we basically promote the observance of the prohibition on torture in my case. I briefed the Human Rights Council early on what was going on in Syria. And my colleagues have briefed at least 2 other times since then. And in both cases, we urged the Human Rights Council and through it, the Security Council, to take urgent action because the situation on the ground amounted, in our view, to crimes against humanity or war crimes. The fact that the world is watching can have a very good preventive effect. But it also creates the occasion and the need for accountability. It's not just a matter of silencing the guns, and we also need to redress the injustices committed.
You can see that the conflict in Syria is one of the most well-documented conflicts. Recently, we've begun doing work in Syria, specifically related to transitional justice and accountability. We provide day-to-day mentoring to the SJAC staff, particularly the executive director, helping him to build a transparent, independent, and well-functioning institution. The reason that we wanted Mohammad for this job is because he's a clear leader among Syrians. He has a vision.
This enthusiast saying, don't speak, don't tell, don't hear, and it's showing how people try to act sometimes. When I cannot hold my mouth, I say lots of things and I comment on everything, so I'm totally opposite of this. I'm a human rights activist from Syria. I'm a refugee in the US since 2009. In 2005 and 2006 I was in prison twice in Syria for lobbying for respecting human rights. And my father was arrested for writing, and I was arrested the day after. So we met in the prison later in Syria prison. In the military prison was very, very difficult conditions, very bad. You hear the noise of torture, mistreatment of people, totally incommunicado. No magazines, no paper, no radio, no access, no visits from family, no lawyers, nothing. You're basically locked in this room and they'll give you very bad food every day. That's it all. I did not really decide to be an activist. That's one of the things I come to in that conversation. But in general, I know my dad is right. So he's not doing any wrong thing. And he's being punished for nothing. Basically, that's encouraged me to do the same things somehow. I'm the executive director of the Syria Justice and Accountability Center. We work in documenting human rights abuses occurring from all sides during the conflict. That includes the Syrian government, the rebels, and the third parties. During the conflict, lots of the documentation occurred coincidentally. People running, filming their phones, and somebody in the right time, the right place, in a balcony or in the streets.
الله أكبر.
They filmed, and these documents need to be preserved and saved in some place. What we try to do is to take the data from everyone, basically, and this data will be preserved during the conflict.
It's interesting because in a lot of cases, this type of movement has happened post-conflict, and so this case, the SJAC is playing a really unique role because it's preparing Syrians for a process that needs to start happening even before the conflict ends. Its job is to make sure that it can be a source of credible data for whomever is working on this issue.
Allahu Akbar!
If you want to have a stable community and stable country, you need people to feel that they treated fairly and there's a justice in the community. Otherwise, if they don't feel the government recognizing them and recognize their loss and redress them and give them the rights back, they will try to take it themselves. And that's will open for revenge, retaliation, and eventually to a civil war.
الطفل الشهيد أحمد موسى الحسين بن شهيد أحمد موسى الحسين والده شهيد.
To let the world know that their silence is unacceptable, that their inaction is complicity in crime, that they have a moral responsibility and a national interest to support freedom in Syria.
The event today is a special event because it commemorates the struggle of the Syrian people against tyranny, against oppression, against savagery of the Assad regime. I lived under that oppression for 23 years while I was there, and I knew how criminal they are, and unfortunately the main power, standing idle. They speak about standing up for human rights, but we have not seen that yet materialized for the struggle of the Syrian people.
People no longer believe in accountability, and they, after 2 years, the international community watching them being killed, I'm like, at the beginning they will talk to you because they believe ICC indictment will be issued or special tribunal will be started at some point, but no longer they believe in this. And when they hear different comments, like yesterday the chemical weapons thing, they hear Ban Ki-moon from New York saying, if that's happened, that would be bad.
I'm afraid that Syrians must be very disappointed today, and they probably thought that the war was going to be much more short-lived, and I think they should be disappointed in the international community.
I remember the saying, I think Martin Luther King, you're not going to be held accountable for the bad things you say, but you're going to be held accountable if there's a good thing you should have said and you refrained from saying that. And this is exactly what's happening when people don't look or don't ask, don't tell, and we should just encourage people to be the opposite of this.